Welcome all as we congregate to the greatest toy line in community, ever growing, ever changing. As we collect and adapt these figures to our own imaginations and embrace the fun, there's much to learn, especially if you're new to Mythics.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Dogs Attacking Their Owners. Hi, this is episode 18 of New to Mythics. I'm being welcomed. I'm being assaulted here, but this is Matt Stein has joined me today for episode 18. Welcome, Matt.
How's it going?
It's going. My dog just all of a sudden decided that she needed love right now.
I just wanted to dance to the intro music a little bit more.
Yeah, I love that music, man. Everyone has liked it except for Curtis. Curtis went out of his way to tell me, and you know that music? I don't like it. That opening, it puts me to sleep. I'm like, thanks, Curtis. I appreciate that support. Thank you. Just keep being you.
Yep.
That's all you gotta do.
Nice and direct.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I met you personally at IshCon. I don't know if I saw you at Legion's Con. Were you there last year?
I was
Okay.
around. I wasn't really like displaying there. I had a couple figures at the Toy Forge booth.
At the Toy Forge.
But other than that, no, I was just kind of bouncing around.
Mm-hmm.
But I was there.
Yeah. How many Legion's Cons have you gone to?
Last year was actually my first, so
Okay.
it was, and I got to go to do intern and stuff like that.
Sweet.
So that was a blast.
I'm gonna pick your brain on that. I got picked for this year, so we're gonna circle back. But I want, yeah,
that's great. It's so good.
I can't wait. So I want to go back first and hear about. I always think it's so interesting to hear about what people collected. A lot of people say like Masters of the Universe and stuff like that was something that really, for my era. Some younger people are like, I don't know what that is. Motu, like, what is that?
That's all Motu.
It's all Motu, man.
Mm-hmm.
But so what were you interested in? What was on your shelves and in your pockets, and what were you interested in as a kid?
Well, I'm a kid. I mean, I was like the perfect age for 80s toys. I was born in 78. So by the time Motu launched, I was 5 years old. So I was just in that perfect, whether it's Motu, Transformers, G.I. Joes, Thundercats, and then eventually Ninja Turtles. That was my bread and butter as a child of the 80s. But we all had random 80s toys, but those were the big ones. Motu was the biggest one, though. That was my first true love, and it's what got me back into collecting as an adult 23 years ago.
Right. So you were into the Masters of the Universe. That was kind of like your main toy line that you collected. What was a couple of your favorite?
Battle Armor Skeletor was always my favorite figure.
I don't think I had him.
And then Battle Cat was probably a close.
Battle Cat was the shit. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I my dad kind of hooked me up one year for my birthday and got me like Gray Skull and Battle Cat and He-Man and Stratos, and I was just like, I love the little books that came with the figures.
Comics,
yeah, the mini comics, that art, and it was just so fantastic. It just
Dark Horse put that into a whole book. Like Dark Horse put out a whole published book. That it's great.
I need to pick that up. I think my favorite was probably Trapjaw. I don't know why. I just dug his, like, he had like that articulating jaw, and he had the different attachments and stuff. I just thought that was super damn cool.
It was very cool.
So did you collect? So was there a lull in your, as you got older? Did you stop collecting, or?
Yeah, I dropped out probably. I stopped collecting toys probably in the early 90s, going into high school. in '93. I was already done with toys,
Right.
and moved on more to video games back in that day. But I had kept all my toys, and then my stepfather gave them all away without me knowing.
My
Uh,
grandma.
so
That
I still think,
I still have that pain.
well, honestly, it's what I think broke me and turned me into a collector. Because obviously I wasn't collecting or playing with toys anymore, but I had them and I wanted them.
Mhm.
And I went to go look for them, and they were gone. And they were like, "Oh, we just gave them away." And when Mattel started re-releasing back in 2000, they did the re-releases of the original stuff.
Mhm.
All those hanging on the shelves, and something just broke, and like I just grabbed them all.
Yeah. Isn't
And-
that interesting? I think there's something psychological
oh,
there.
it,
Not to
it,
be, armchair or whatever, but
yeah.
and I'm not analyzing you, but I'm just thinking on myself. It's like when I found out, like I went to my dad's. My parents were divorced. My mom died when I was young, and then I went to visit my dad for the summer, and I took like a couple of key toys. I think I had like my mask, the Mat Tracker red car, like a Lion-O and something else, and that was all I had. And when I came back, my grandma was like, "You don't need that stuff anymore. I got rid of it. I had a yard sale and
Yeah.
sold your Millennium Falcon for like 50 cents. And I think that there's something there, like these toys evoked so much imagination and good memories and fun, all this positive, just like friends. You traded toys with your friends, or I would bring my figures to my friend's house and we would have adventures and play, or whatever. And I think when that stuff, even if you didn't play with it, it still has that emotional nostalgic thing. So like when your stepdad or my grandma got rid of the stuff, like it does like a trauma, like there's
Mhm.
damage that happens, and it's like, whoa, I still love that stuff, even if I'm not collecting it. I still want it. I still need that Millennium Falcon, or wheeled warriors, or power lords, or sectars, or Optimus Prime. I still need that stuff,
Mhm.
even if I'm not actively collecting. There's something securing. There's something about that stuff that is just, you know it's tied to my childhood.
There is. I mean, some of us have it worse than others, but it is a form of addiction.
Mhm.
Um, but everything in moderation is good, or
Right.
can be
As we're
good.
surrounded by as we're
Yeah.
surrounded by toys. But there's something about it. Like I've talked about it with other friends. Like my room is tiny. My collecting room, it's probably 10 by 10, but
Mm,
I have it jam packed, and it just recharges. It just makes me happy
mhm.
to be in here, surrounded by stuff that I love.
Well, and I work from home, so I live on video calls all day long, so I sit in here all day. So
That's got to be good plastic therapy, though.
it
You're
is,
surrounded by stuff you.
and I've always got stuff I could easily grab and play with. I can just grab.
What do you got? Well, that should be a new segment. Like what's within arm's reach that you can grab, and what do you got there? Can I see it
It's the
closer?
it's the new
Oh,
skeleton builder with the Cabal shirt.
and the horse with the headless horseman pumpkin head.
Yeah, I am so in love, and I was not generally a skeleton guy, but these skeletons are just
They're a
phenomenal.
blast, dude. They are a blast. I've got a few. I got a couple from IshCon. And then I got two more in the mail. I haven't opened them. I work a lot, and but I my buddy Mark let me open his, and it was so much fun. It's
Hmm.
like the Valiant Knight. They're just so much fun to pose and to mess with. Such a fun figure.
It really is. I mean, and it's just a skeleton. I say just a skeleton, but it's new mythic parts. So when you get new
Mm,
mythic parts, it's just a whole different feeling.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So did you start? Sorry, I keep looking at my foot. I don't know why. Did you start random? Did you start looking for your toys again? Because that's kind of what I did. Did you like, I'm gonna get that, GI Joe figure, or I'm gonna get, did you start doing that, or did you buy new stuff?
No, there were some stuff that I went back and like a lot of the original Motu. I went back and got a lot of the original Ninja Turtles. I got, and then I realized because again, this was early 2000s for me, and I was not making a lot of money. Not that I make a lot of money now, but I definitely wasn't making a lot of money
Right.
then. And it was in the early days, and all of a sudden I realized how much money I'd put on my credit card going to eBay because I've been
Hmm.
buying on eBay for 20 something years, and I was like, all right, I can't keep all this stuff. It's got to go.
Yeah.
And so no, now as long as it gives me that feeling, like I like the Motu Classics is one of my favorite lines. Um, even though it's not the original toys, it's the newer versions, or like all this is Origins. This is all the new, like the old stuff, but better.
I think I'm gonna start collecting that Origins line because it looks very similar, but
Oh,
it's
it
got like the
it
articulated.
yeah, it's well, and they also like they've now started to do a filmation. These are all like filmation style,
Hmm.
and like they finally did a filmation Cringer,
Oh wow,
and he's fully
that's awesome.
articulated.
What do they cost about?
The single figures, I think, are depending on where you get them from, $17 to $20.
That's not bad. Now,
I
what
think
about
that
the older? Like say I wanted to get a trap jaw, what would that run
oh,
me?
you're
If
gonna
I
pay a
were,
lot more than that. Yeah, I mean,
man,
especially if you want a complete one in good condition, you're gonna pay a lot more than. But the line's been going now for or even the Origins line's now been going for God, I don't even know how many years it's been going.
mhm,
And I honestly I didn't expect it to last that long, but it's got. I mean, they did an Eternia. I mean,
that set's amazing.
yeah, yeah. I had to completely rearrange. This is like a 4x4 foot island in the middle of my room.
It's huge.
And I used
Yeah.
to have all my I'm a big, Harry Potter Lego guy,
Hmm.
and so the only one in my room now is this, uh,
That's amazing. I didn't even notice that. I've been looking at Eternia. I didn't even notice
but this was the
the
only
Harry Potter
space in
cast.
my house that I could put something because it takes up almost all of the like, it's just a weird big shape,
Yeah,
but it's a good centerpiece, so
absolutely. That's
it
super
gets a lot of
helpful.
comments on my work calls
I
because
was
I
just
get
about to ask you that. So you don't do like the weird background thing, the blurry. You're like, no, this is me, man.
no, I the company I work for, they're all like, it was a friend of mine that I met through my other job. And, part of working there is they only hire kind of geeky and nerdy people.
That's my
And
kind of
my
place.
boss said, if this turns people off from working with us, then they're not our people.
Right on. I
We don't need
respect
money
that.
that bad. So,
Yeah,
so I
that's
don't
cool.
hide it. And it's a good and most people are really cool about it. Even the people that you can tell they don't. I mean, they're maybe older or just not into it.
Yeah.
But what you'll find is even the people you think maybe are a little stuffy, they'll be like, "Oh, I like getting this," and or they'll, "Oh, I have pops," or
Right.
I build, car the Lego car sets,
Right. Yeah,
But
I
the
think
guys that call
that's,
it figurines are the ones that kind of make me laugh.
yeah,
So
watch out for those people. Yeah.
yeah,
Or dolls, you
dolls, yeah.
know. Yeah, you're just trying to get a rise out of me, calling them dolls.
Yeah, I've the worst comment I've had from somebody was saying, um, uh, are you in your mom's basement?" And I was like, and
Wow.
they thought it was a joke, and I'm like, I didn't say anything. It's a work call. I'm not going to say anything,
Right, yeah, you're not gonna jeopardize
but
anything,
but
but
I
that's
was
kind
like,
of a
it is, and I don't think the guy
inflammatory.
was intending, but I'm like, it's just you can tell they don't know how to deal with people like us.
Yeah. Wow,
Some
that's
people
their
just don't
problem.
know we exist. My wife didn't know this world existed until she met me.
Right. Yeah, my fiance is she's new to like the cabal and the community and all that. Like I was just talking to Corn Boy and I was like, whenever I go to a con and I see Eric or I see Jim or CB, I'm like geeked out. Like, dude, there's Eric right there.
Yeah,
And she's like, who? What? Who am I looking at? And I'm like, oh, Emil is here from Norway. It's like, oh my god, and it's like I'm geeking out, but she's like, she doesn't get it. You know, she thinks it's just like an action figure toy line. And I'm like, no, like Mythics is way more than just figures, you know. And she's starting to slowly, she's like, why do you have a t-shirt with your face on it? You know, why do you need stickers for? What is this? What is this going on? You know, and so she's starting to realize that it's more than just figures that I get, you know, in the mail or something.
Right.
It's a lot more than that. But I love it. Like it has filled something missing in me, I think. Just the friends and just, you know, meeting people, meeting you, like, and that, who's the guy that was next, that was it, David James?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't know this guy, but me and him were like, we were like joking with each other, and now I'm like looking for him on the Cabal. I'm like, I gotta meet this guy again. This guy is hilarious.
Yeah, that's one of my local buddies. So he's one of my best friends. So
yeah, he's a cool dude, man. Tell him Greg said what's up, man.
You will never get him on anything because he doesn't talk on video.
I
It's like a whole thing. He's big buddies with Big Dub too,
yeah.
and he won't talk on video. It's just a
I've
thing.
had people where they're like, I'm not doing that. And I like, I'll be hey, you know, I do this show, and they're like, oh, that's cool. And then when I say, would you ever be on it and tell your story about how you? Nah, I'm not. I don't have anything to say. And it's like, it's just a conversation. It's not a big deal. It's not like, you know, a bunch of people watching. It's really not. You know, it's not that big of a thing. But some people are just like, nope, I'm not doing that. It's like, okay, that's cool. Right on.
As an introvert, I understand that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I started, I think I started by looking for my old stuff, and I saw a lot of it was expensive, and some of it I was like, I don't really want it anymore. But it was just like a gradual thing. And then at the time, I had a stepson, and he was starting to get older, and this was the time of like Spider-Man and X-Men. And so I would pick him up, you know, a figure. I'd take him to Toys R Us, and he would buy, you know, the Wolverine figure. And I was just like, this is my kid right here. This is my guy right here. And I would buy myself one just to check it out. And I was like, whoa, like this is way more articulated than the figures that I had when I was young. So it kind of progressed from, you know, the cool old nostalgia stuff into more of the more modern toys.
Yeah, I mean I mean, just like every group, there are a subset of people that only want the vintage stuff because it's the vintage stuff, and it's that exact thing they had. For me, it's just about the feeling of it.
Yes.
You know, whether it's the tactile feeling of it, you know, of it feeling like I remember as a kid, or just even, you know, it firing off something in my head. And I'm looking over here because I have all of the Hasbro Indiana Jones figures.
Oh yeah. I
And
love that stuff.
you know, yeah, they're not vintage ones, but I love those movies so much that just
Yes.
having that tactile toy of it
Yes.
makes me think of that. So
Yeah. So are you basically like like a buyer when it comes to like it's evoking? So are you a completionist, or are you like, Indiana Jones makes me happy, so I'm gonna buy that stuff? Or a little bit of both?
I try not to be a completist anymore when I can. It's expensive, and then you have that. I mean, we already all buy too much stuff,
Right.
but then I don't like the feeling of, okay, I bought stuff I really don't want.
Right.
So I've tried to be a lot, but like I cut all my Marvel Legends down to just X-Men and some classic Spider-Man stuff. I can't do everything. Transformers, I can't buy everything, so it's just the newer versions of the G1 stuff. You know, so there's few things I'm not. I mean, I wouldn't even say I'm a completist on Mythics. Totally, definitely not, because I can't go back and afford all the old ones.
Oh my god, yeah, don't do that. So are you like OCD-ish, where like you have to have like everything on this shelf, and it can't mix with this, and like and I'm not saying anything about OCD. Like I think we all have
no, yeah, I know what you mean. I can't mix. Like and it's cool because I like looking at people that have those mixed shelves, but my brain just won't do it.
Yes, I get it.
And the worst part is stuff starts stacking up because I have to rearrange stuff.
Yes.
And so you can't see all the mess, but there's like behind this table over here,
hiding.
there's just and you can kind of see some of there's legions laying down. There's
Yes.
tubs of legions that I've
Yes.
opened that I haven't because I have to rearrange all of this. These
I
are
need you to.
those two bookshelves there are all legions, and
Wow.
I need to rearrange and find homes for other stuff.
Yeah.
So
I have a catch-all. I have a couple of details. I could fit 3 on this side of the wall, and 2 of the bottom sections are just random figures, but I'll send you a picture after the show, but they're
yeah,
like stacked, like, figure to figure, face to
right.
neck, of just figures that I love. But like, say I bought a Lobster Johnson from
Hellboy.
um Hellboy, and I don't have any other Lobster Johnson or Hellboy figures, so where am I going to put this in my collection? I still want to look at it, so I'm going to put him in this catch-all. I've got him next to um looks like a Darwin Cook Batman tribute figure.
Hmm.
So they're all kind of like, stacked together, but for me it's okay because it's a shelf that's just random shit, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't know,
Unfor-
there's something there with collecting and orderliness,
Mhm.
and putting things in compartments, and like, there's something there.
Yeah, and I am that way, and I've tried to do the catch-all stuff. Like originally, I have all kinds of shelves, but they're like not that deep of little plastic shelves where all my
Hmm.
Indiana Jones stuff is. I tried to have that as just my desk toy, random toy, and every time I did it, I ended up just taking it all down and putting something else there, just
Hmm.
because it drove me crazy. Like
Did you
it just
collect the 6-inch Indiana Jones or the
yeah,
smaller?
it's all the 6-inch stuff. So
Yeah, I kept the
um,
smaller ones in the card. Um,
yeah, if I was gonna, because I am generally an all open kind of guy. There are a few things I will keep on card. You can't see them, but I have the Princess Bride reaction
mhm,
figures because
yeah,
it's probably a top 3 movie for me. Uh,
it's a perfect movie.
I've
Curtis has
watched.
said that too. It's like a perfect.
Well, it's funny because when I first moved out of my parents' house or my mom's house, and moved in with my buddy, we didn't have cable, and it was before streaming and all that kind of stuff. So I had a VCR, I had a TV that had a
Mhm.
VCR attached to it, and so I had like 3 or 4 movies that I owned. And Princess Bride would always be the movie I would just in my night. I probably watched that thing hundreds of times,
Right.
because I'd start watching it and I'd be like, all right, go to sleep, and I'd pick it back up the next night before, and I just
Yeah.
kept watching it over and over and over
So
again. It
you
was like,
could quote like
oh
every.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it
I.
would drive my wife and my daughter crazy when it was on TV, and I would just like start talking with the movie.
You told me everything.
Yeah.
That's my
So,
favorite scene. I love that. Yeah, that's funny. Um. So you picked up. So how old were you when you started to go back and pick up, like, or start collecting the Mattel He-Man stuff?
uh, so I'm 45
Were you
now.
already established and married with kids and stuff when you started collecting again, or were you
No,
younger?
I was with my ex-wife at the time. I don't know if we were married yet, but no, I didn't have kids until I was 30. Say my daughter is now 32.
Hmm.
So I started collecting probably about God. Let's see. Let's do the math. I was 45. Take 24 years. So I was what, 21?
Hmm. That's about when I started again too. 21, 22, 3 in
Yeah,
that area.
but
I
it wasn't
started
like
to notice.
yeah, and it wasn't super heavy just because financial
Right.
means. But the next
Life.
thing I know, like I have all the Marvel Legend, like Marvel Legends started coming out, and I went all on that path. Um,
Yeah.
but no, by the time I met my current wife, which we've been together since 2007, um, and obviously when my child was born, I was already head
Yeah.
over into
Yeah.
collecting.
Yeah.
Uh, I had to sell a lot of it off
I mean,
in
it
the
happens.
in the great divorce of 2007. Uh, but it was
Yeah,
worth
it
it.
happens. It
It was
happens.
worth it.
Right.
I went
Yeah,
down. I had a whole basement. I went down to 2 bookcases by the end of it.
You know, I did that too. I did this grand like culling of all my stuff, and it was kind of liberating. You know,
Mhm.
when I got divorced, I left California, and I had everything that I could fit in my expedition and a U-Haul trailer that was probably a 8 foot
Yeah,
trailer
one of those small ones.
was all I owned. Like I
Mhm.
had nothing else, and I had a motorcycle on there, and I don't even think I had furniture, and I still had like tubs of figures that I had bought. I'm like,
Mhm.
I went through and I'm like, okay, what's going with me and what's getting sold or given
Yep.
away, and it was liberating to get rid of a lot of stuff.
And every few years, I still go through and I'm like, okay, this isn't bringing me as much happiness
Hmm.
as it was. It's time to,
Yes.
because I can't just keep everything. So a lot,
Yeah.
there are things that I will never get rid of. My Green Arrow collection being one of them.
I saw that. That is a cool.
Um,
Yeah, I saw that post. That was cool. I
my
love Green Arrow.
Ken Street Fighter figures, those will be forever with me.
Hmm.
My whole family would disown me if I sold my Green Arrow stuff. They just know how much it means to me. So
So are they gonna box it up in shoe boxes and bury you with that?
maybe my daughter. I think my daughter would just keep it. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
let's not. I don't want to. I don't want to rush to that anytime soon.
Right, right, right.
I'm
We're in no
old, but I'm not
hurry.
that
We,
old.
we're, we don't want to think about in the end game of that.
But it is one thing I think about though, leaving my wife to deal with all of this stuff.
Yes, I've thought that too.
I
And
was gonna say I have friends that I have conversations with. If XYZ happens, I have backups to come help. So
yeah, yeah,
so she didn't have
absolutely.
to deal with it.
Isn't that something though? And I don't mean to get macabre or dark, but it's like people collect stuff their whole life, and say your Green Arrow collection, you love the shit out of that stuff.
Hmm.
But if it was in a shoebox, and then your grandkids would be like, what is this junk? Like, what am I
Yeah.
gonna do with this? Take it to Goodwill,
Yep.
and it's like all the stuff that you loved and cherished is just stuff. It's just junk. You know what I
It's
mean?
awful.
It's
But I like to think somebody else will find it and
absolutely dust it
get
off, and
some joy out of it.
absolutely.
Probably some money too.
Right. Absolutely. So how did you get into Mythics? What was your trajectory to kind of
Well, that's a long story. So I've been fans of the Four Horsemen going all the way back
Mhm.
into because they were the huge part of the 2000X line of Motu.
Right, right.
And so I started, you know, being aware of who those guys were back way back then. And when they transitioned from Motu, and then they were also doing their um, I don't even remember how to say it. It was their first time doing their own 7-inch line of action figures where everybody got like people go on and vote. What character do you want to be? What kind of
Mhm.
color do you want it to be? And they did bulls. They did the bull first, and so I was collecting all of that. Sold all that in the Great Divorce. Um, then they did a lot of the Gothropolis stuff,
Mhm.
and then I did the Kickstarter for the birds, but years ago I sold it all.
Yeah.
And then I saw Mythic Legions coming out, and I was like, "Wow! Like this speaks to my
That
core as
fantasy.
fantasy." I love sci-fi, but fantasy is always my core.
Yeah.
Um, but at the time, for me, it was just a lot of money. And then what really turned me off to doing the Kickstarter originally was they just kept adding more figures and more figures and more figures. And I was a very much a completist back in those days. And and they'll joke about it now about how that first wave was like 36 figures or
That was a
something crazy.
huge freaking wave, dude.
And I was like, I just can't do it. And I had friends that talked me out of it, which he later became a collector, which I thought was funny. Um, so I didn't get in it on the ground level, but I got in technically at the ground level with because I would always go to PowerCon, huge Motu guy, and they
Mhm.
started doing those Motu tribute figures. And so
That was
I owned the original. I was there when they sold that original can never say the names, but the Orc Man at Arms. Um
Uncan.
yeah. And then I
I
had,
love that figure. I
and
wish
then
I
I
had
had a
that
couple
figure.
I had a couple of those after that, but it just at the time it was like stuff's gotta go. I had like 6 or 7 of those, so they just went away. We were moving. I just need to sell
Yeah.
stuff, so I kind of
Yeah.
fell out of the line. I sold them for way cheaper than they go for now. Because
Ouch. Yeah.
but I did get a really good deal on getting those back later. But um, it was all right. Not to be like a downer.
No, you're
Chris-
fine.
Christmas is a huge time of year for me. It's I actually have a Christmas tattoo on my arm.
Nice.
My In about 2 weeks, it'll be 2 years that I've lost my mother,
Oh, I'm sorry,
and
man.
I appreciate it. And she always used to say "Merry Christmas" to me, and so my buddy Jason drew me some art, and that's what it says on my arm. Uh, but the Santa Claus figure came out,
Hmm.
and so my buddies were talking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just get some of this stuff, like some of the figure. I'll just start with some figure obscura. The Santa stuff the Christmas stuff's really important
Hmm.
to me, and so I got it, and I was like, oh no, this could be bad. Because I hadn't played with a mythic in years.
Yeah.
Like it'd been years. Like I
And you're
missed
like, this
all of
figure's
the
pretty damn good.
yeah, and I was like, oh no. And then like people had been talking about the headless horseman and all that stuff, and I missed out on that. And I was like, no, no. And then my buddy's like, well, I'll sell you to it at what it cost me. And I was like, all right. So I got a headless horseman, and I was like, oh no, like this is I was like, all right, I'll just do Obscura. So I tracked down
Right.
Krampus or both Krampus, and I was like, that's it. It's a subset, small line, and
Yes.
I
I'm
was,
okay.
yeah, yeah, that's gonna be it. And then that
That's all.
January, I was at my dad's house for Christmas time, uh, 'cause we kind of do that side of the family in January.
Hmm.
And he's in Augusta, Georgia, which is near a retailer for Mythics, Top Dogs,
Yeah,
Top
I've
Dog
heard of
Comics.
them.
Um, and they had a whole bunch of the Alithia wave in there, bunch of the vampires. And I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I started looking and looking and looking, and I got a cut. The next thing I know, like I have all the vampires, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do and it just started spiraling out of control
Yeah.
from there.
It's that collector brain where it's like you get one figure and then you're like, I'm just gonna, at work, I'm just gonna browse on my phone
Hmm.
and just, I'm just gonna look, and the next thing I know, I'm on eBay or Mercari, and I'm like, how much is that? And how much?
Oh, I don't even want to think about how much money I spent in those first few months.
Yeah.
Like it was like, all right, what can I sell? Like I
Right.
need to start
Yeah.
selling stuff.
Yeah.
So I sold all kinds
Just
of
to
stuff that
offset.
I had to, like a lot of Storm collectible figures left my house, the Batman
Yeah.
the animated stuff, which was hard for me to get rid of from
Yeah.
DC Direct.
Yeah. Those are nice figures. Their feet were tiny though, man. They hard to stand up, but they were beautiful.
Well, and I love that whole Tim and
Yes.
Bruce
Bruce
Tim
Tim.
and
Yeah.
let's see, I can't point to it. This here is all of the JLU figures
Yeah.
from Mattel
Beautiful.
from so I love that. So I was like, well, I still have that, so I can get rid of the other ones.
Right.
Um
You're justifying.
yeah. And then I, found the Cabal. That was the next logical step.
Hmm.
And it just, took off from there. People helping out, getting stuff, and then just, trying to make some friends. And then I stumbled across Jeremy's videos, um,
Yes.
Mythic Customs, and he was talking about painting the dots. And I'm a big dwarf guy, like Tolkien dwarfs. I love
Hmm.
dwarves. Dwarves are, and it's not just a beard thing. It's dwarfs.
Dwarfs are
Um,
badass.
they are, and I quickly realized that I can't afford any of the named dwarfs in Mythic Legions. So all I had were builders really at the
Yeah.
time, and I'd never painted anything in my life. Um, and I saw his videos about painting the dots and just little details. And such, you know what? Let me just try it, and that's kind of where it started. And then, that was like 5 months, 6 months after I lost my mom. So I needed something to put my
Hmm.
energy into. and that's what painting turned into. And I went from all of a sudden never painting anything to my first full year I painted. I think I counted at the end of last year. I think I'd done 60 customs in my
Oh
first
my
year.
gosh. Wow.
And now, because I've only been painting now for 16 months,
Hmm.
17 months, something like that. So, um, yeah, so it was a very whirlwind. It'll be about 2 years, this Christmas that I've been like collecting,
Hmm.
um, and painting.
Let's check
February,
out your.
February, February will be 2 years of me painting.
Let's go to your Instagram. Instagram is 13Z Customs right
Y'all.
there. Let's see, add to the stage. Let's go here. So it looks like you got a Pixis.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, and I don't know if he wants me to mention his name. He saw that I was looking for a Pixis because I commented on somebody else's,
Hmm.
and he was like, "Hey, give me your address." And so he just sent me a Pixis.
Wow.
Um, and it's one of the
That's
OG. It's one of the OG ones because it's got the C clamp on the
on the
shield.
shields.
Doesn't have the
Yeah, I
handle.
love that.
And
That's so.
yeah,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna paint my own because I've done that, and you'll see a couple through the like I painted my own Rune Master and a few ones, but I've kind of fallen off of doing that just
Hmm.
because like if I can't have the original, then I just won't have the original. Um,
You're at peace with that.
I am, uh, but when he saw that, he messaged me. He's just like, "Hey, let me send this to you." And I'm like, Okay, thank you."
I
Well,
love
actually, what
that
I asked
though.
him was how much, and he was
Right.
like, No, just give me your address." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay."
But that's so this community though. Like
Hmm.
there's so many people that are just like, like Dennis Derby, that are just like, what do you need?
Hmm.
I would talk to someone and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for this, and they'll send like that plus something else,
Hmm.
and so I reciprocate. Brute Scale Greg was like, I'm looking for this shield from Attila, and I'm like, I
Hmm.
got that. Give me your address. How much, bro? I'm like, don't worry about it. And it's just people helping people, and just that generous nature that's in this community I freaking love, man.
That happens. One of those pictures is a picture Big Greg shared of a custom he got from me.
Where's it at? Which one?
Right up down. It's the one that has like this
Yeah.
background. Scroll down. Right there
This
in the
one?
middle. Nope. Yeah, that.
His collection
I
and
can't. I
displays
keep telling him I need to go in. I want to go in his
are
house
just
because it's crazy.
stupid. They're just stupid. Like, yeah, I would get lost looking at all his displays and stuff. But yeah, that shield is one of the shields that I sent him.
So your shield then probably ended up on my dwarf custom because I didn't
Prob
send him that one didn't have a shield on it. Well, it had an elven shield because that was I made that dwarf out of
That's awesome.
LJ or whatever that. I
Lee
don't
J.
like the names. I could yeah whatever. I can never say the dang names.
Lee J. Yeah, that's Lee J's. You could see the red on the. That's
On it, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, all that. I just had to paint match the arms or the gauntlets and the
Yeah.
legs and stuff. So, and then obviously painted the head.
So my question was going to be, you do sell the customs that you create.
Yeah, I had to. Originally, I had not. I didn't go into this with the idea of. Yeah, every now and then I like to go back and so like I paint. That was my first head sculpt I painted back in February
Hmm.
of 23, and that head sculpt is now available at Wolf King because it was
Yes.
Legion, and it's adjusted a little bit, like the beard or the mustaches. So I always like to compare
Hmm.
where I was and where I am. I mean, I still got a long way to go, but it's always cool to look back.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
but
That's
no,
so
originally
cool.
I didn't get into it with the idea of selling. It was just I'm making dwarves for me, and then
Yeah.
it got to the point where I had so many dwarves, so many customs that I had to start selling them. Like it was just too much money. And so I sold a bunch last year, and I've already been people have been messaging me and wanting to lock in stuff for Legion
Yeah.
Con. So yeah,
Yeah, my
it's
friend
turned out nice.
Eric Keys is like, that dude makes some good dwarf customs. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. I like this. Is my
Yeah,
arrow? Can you see my arrow? That is freaking
yeah,
cool,
the
right there.
statue dwarf, which I didn't bring one of those up here with me because I
I
paint
love
downstairs.
that.
It's one of the ones that got, every now and then you'll get noticed for doing something. My dwarf statues, a lot of people dug.
I love
Uh,
that.
my monkey pirates, a lot of people dig those.
Yeah.
And then my glowing eyes trick, a lot of
Yeah.
people dig that stuff. Um,
That's
and it's
awesome,
not,
dude.
it's just, I watch a lot of miniature painting videos. Um,
Mhm.
so learning their technique for doing OLS lighting, um, object surface lighting, I believe is what it's actually called,
Yeah.
to try to give it and then a mix of fluorescent paint and then gloss, and then it reflects the light and it looks like it's glowing.
Yeah, that's amazing, dude. Yeah, I've seen people make comments on your posts like, does that actually light up?
Yeah, I
I've
actually
seen
had
people.
people. I mean, even because I took one. It was one of the later ones I did. It was the knight with the glowing like slits in his mask.
Yes.
I actually had somebody pick it up at the. We did a local meetup here last month at Charlie's Collectibles, and I had somebody pick it up and was like, "Is this lit up?" And I'm like, "No, it's just paint. It's just paint."
Like, where do I
And
put the batteries, yo?
right, and it's it's gloss. It's super glossy, so having like direct lights on it helps reflect it, and it gives it that look. I
Yeah,
love painting those. If I could paint
awesome.
20 of those right now, I'd probably sell them all. Like I had a lot of people message me about those.
Do you create your own head sculpts, or do you buy them from
No, I buy them from people like the
like
Toy
Wolf King,
Forge and
Toy
Wolf
Forge? Yeah.
King, Planetary, which is where that chest and that head sculpt came from. They're actually about to shut down printing, I think, really
Yes,
soon.
I saw that.
And I'm
Yeah.
so bummed because I love, love, love their head sculpts. Um, and so I'm kind of bummed that they're going away.
Yeah. 'Cause I
They're
think Eric Miller was saying he's buying as many as he can just
Yeah,
to have.
yeah. I started to do that, and I was just like, it's just so much. I can't tie up that much money. It just
Yeah.
stinks. Like that fat dwarf was one of theirs too, right next to it. That was their head sculpt
It's
and
just
their
awesome, dude.
torso.
I mean,
So
your paints are stupid, but like that sculpt to begin with, that head sculpt,
yeah, it's a
you
great
know,
head sculpt.
all the surface, the textures, the wrinkles, all of that, it's almost like a map for you to follow, but your paints just make it even
Yeah,
more.
it's a nice, and you can tell a lot of times when people that some of the heads are sculpted with the painting in mind.
Hmm.
So they're gonna be missed. A lot of us are gonna miss buying their stuff.
So are they just not designing stuff anymore, or is it like a political thing?
No, I think, and I don't know any inside information, but I know that I believe they're working on like some actual retail product.
Oh, okay.
So I think he's just trying to put his energy into that.
Yeah. Focusing on something else.
Yeah,
I love
yeah. I
that
don't
head
I don't
sculpt.
think it's any kind of malicious stuff or anything. I think it's just sometimes it's time to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, this
But
is a friend of mine reached out to me because he had saw me paint. Um, if you scroll through, there's two different females there. He saw me paint them. He saw them on my you can just scroll through the image when you pull it back.
oh, okay, sorry.
If you
Oh,
click
I
the
see it. I
yeah.
see it. Okay.
And so these are the dwarf or the shield sisters, I think they are called. I think
Uh-huh.
they're Jason Rodriguez, who does a ton of sculpts that a lot of us enjoy. He saw them. I told him they were sold a long time ago, and he's like, "Can you just make me two female dwarfs? I don't care what you do to them. Just make
Yeah,
them,
I
and I'll
love
buy
this
them."
dark one right here. This one
Yeah.
is
So the ones on the right are the ones I made for him.
these are amazing. I love that sword too.
Yep, that's part of the whole kit. The sword, the shield, the shoulders, the head, and then that chest piece are all part of
Yeah,
the
I
3D.
love
Those are
this.
all
Yeah,
3D parts.
love this. So um are you happy that the Horsemen have kind of embraced. So it seems like they're paying attention to what the fans are collecting, whether it's goblins, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
dwarves. And I mean, I know it does take a while for them to create and then
Mm-hmm.
have the build in China and then bring it. I know that takes a while, but it's cool that the dwarf lovers are getting more dwarf love.
Yeah, I probably have like at least 10 of those 2 packs on pre-order at this point. Um, no, and I, I mean, I used to do. I used to be involved in manufacturing stuff in China in a previous life, and then also I worked on an indie toy line, which obviously was produced in China.
Hmm.
Uh, so I'm very familiar with the struggles that they go through, and I can't imagine at the scale they're going through.
Yeah,
Um, but no,
yeah, that size and that many figures
yeah,
and all
that
that
many
is crazy.
molds and pieces, and I don't even know how they do it. But no, I mean, yeah, it stinks in one sense that it's taken this long to get parts, but it's just
Hmm.
reality.
Right.
But also, I think it allowed a whole community to be built around all these 3D parts and 3D
Yes.
printing and not just using stock parts. Um,
Right. Kind of creating your own when there wasn't something there. You guys would make your own.
right, and I may be a little bit more like I know people complain about part reuse. So the line I used to run or not run, sorry, work on,
Okay.
was a Glyos line. And so Glyos figures are known for mold reuse. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
you have to at that small of a size company, you have to get your money out of those molds.
Right.
Those molds are thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. So it was all paint for us. Like just how many different ways can we paint the same thing
Hmm.
and sell it? Um, so it's just there's I think they were the first ones at that scale that maybe people didn't realize that was a thing. Um, but they do so good with paint though that
Oh man,
the latest wave, the latest cosmic wave, the angel head that was on one of the
Gadriel.
yeah, I didn't even know that was
I
her
didn't either.
head
I
until
didn't either.
somebody and it was just the paint was so out there that my brain just focused on the paint. Didn't even
Right.
dawn on me that that's who it was.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I was like, that
So
is a gorgeous head. And then somebody, I don't know if it's Jeremy or somebody said that's a Gadriel. And I was like, whoa, like
yeah,
it didn't even occur to me,
no, it
you
didn't
know?
even dawn. But no, I mean, if you know these guys and anybody that gets to go to Legion's Con or gets to go any of these shows that these guys show up, they're just a bunch of nerds like us and collectors
Mhm.
like us. Um, I think they do the best they can getting the new parts out and like, getting this new skeleton in hand. Like I think the next 18 months of this line are going to like really change. Like I think it's going to be even bigger. I think when
Yeah.
Necronominus hits, when the Noble Bear and Rising Star or Red Star wave hit and all that stuff,
Yes.
it's gonna blow people away. I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that they have in mind, like they make stuff for customizers too. I think like if you look at the figure obscura, like the Bastet and the Anubis, people were having they were like crazy because they have no arms
Hmm.
that don't have bare skinned. They're it's like they're making this stuff for us or for customers in mind, customizers, not customers, and also customers, but they're creating, but they're also making stuff that you guys are going to be able to use. um you know
Well, and not even just customizing, but just popping and swapping. I mean, you could do
yes.
so. I mean, that's all this guy is. I mean, he's just a pop and swap. I mean, you have a base skeleton here, and with some extra parts, it's like it's a whole different character.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah, it just
and
adds
it's
so much
really
to it.
it's a Glyos because that's the whole big selling point on Glyos figures is which again that a bunch of Glyos guys come and sell at Legion's Con too. It's the popping apart and mixing and making your own
Hmm.
thing. This is just it with more detail and a bigger size.
So if you were able to create your own toy line, would that pop and swap thing, would that be something that you would?
Oh, 100%. Again, the line that I got to work on with two of my best friends is called Battle Tribes, and it was essentially, 3-inch He-Man's looking figures that you could pop apart and switch, and they came with multiple heads and pop them at the wrist, pop them at the legs. Because I got to design a lot of the colors that we did on those figures, and we did some Motu tributes and stuff too. So yeah, I mean, a fantasy line that I could pop and swap a lot of stuff apart. Which, funny enough, talking about Origins line, I mean, that's part of this line too. Is they all pop apart, just like
Hmm,
just like
I didn't know that.
just like yeah. So you can because actually, like, this is the new Two Bad that came out, and he came with two figures of them by themselves, and then you could pop pieces off and put them on this extra torso and make them Two Bad.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yep. So
Yeah, I
they kind
remember
of do the same thing.
the old He-Mans. I would take off the arms and
The
put
arms,
different.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It was just
But
fun.
yeah, and these guys come apart take them apart at the waist, put a different torso on it.
Yeah, I was noticing at IshCon they had I think was it William Golden had a table that was just filled with parts,
Mm-hmm.
and for like 40 or $45 or something, they give you
Just
like a
build
hot
your own,
dog
yeah.
tray and build your own. Yeah, so Mark, Mark Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
he spent an hour just building like a little boy. He was building, a figure from scratch, and it was cool. I mean, it was a whole new figure.
Yeah. They did that at the local Charlie's Collectibles one we had here. Ginger Kid Collectibles was out there,
Hmm.
with Four Horsemen prices, but they did that too. They had the whole, and you'd see people, and I was selling, so but I would look down there, and you'd see one or two people just standing there forever building their fit, and it was the same thing. It was 40, $45, whatever it was,
Yeah,
and you just get to mix and match, grab a soft goods, do all this stuff.
yeah.
Um, so I think the idea is really cool.
I do too. I need to.
Uh,
I think they're going to do it at Legion's Con. So I told William, I'm like, I will be there for that. I got caught up at IshCon meeting people and saying hi to everybody, and I never got back around to his table. But
yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
It's fun, and I know at Legion's Con that last year they also did the part swap thing, and I think they're
Yes,
doing that in more official capacity this year too, after show hours.
yeah. I
Which,
think Chris James. I think he was
yeah,
kind of outside of the room.
yeah, he kind of spearheaded that, and then and it went really well apparently. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we are like less than 90 days away from intern, so I'm ready
So
to go.
what can you tell? So for people that are new to Mythics,
Mhm.
what can you tell me about Intern? I'm super excited, but can you tell us about it a little bit? Walk me through it.
Yeah, it's great. So they do like stations, like because there's so many people there. Like everybody can't do everything at the same time. So you have a couple of different things. You have um and at least this was last year, and I know different years could be different. Um and they kind of group you into groups, and then you go from station to station and do different things. There was one working with Trevor Williams, him talking about his photography, how he sets
Mhm.
stuff up, how he does different things. They had Nate Barch. One of the sessions was Nate Barch, and he was actually working on designing, like live designing the packaging art for it was one of the cosmic stuff, I believe. I don't know which cosmic wave it was.
Can I
Um
ask a stupid question real
yes.
fast? Does Nate Barch, does he do it like on a canvas, or
Mm-mm.
is it digital painting?
It's all at least everything he was showing us, it's all digital.
Okay. I didn't
Um
know, and I was embarrassed to ask, but
no, yeah, and I've known Nate going back all the way to the Motu days, and his art is, you know, it's Trevor's photos, it's the art, it's the paint, like it's everything encapsulating this whole line. Um
it's a
And
total
then you can also,
package.
yes, total package. And then they have their two main painters are Sherry and Cameron. And so like one group will watch, he'll give you tips. They'll give you tips on painting and how they do it. The two coolest things I personally think, and it's no offense to these other people because I love them, but it's the tour that Jim gives you, because they're in the same building with a prop studio, and so they take you on a tour of all of that,
Oh man,
and
I can't
it's like
wait for that.
it's like a place where a movie production would call up and say, "Hey, we need 14 dining room chairs. We need an old timey
And a
phone."
stick of dynamite.
And a stick of dynamite, and it's all this stuff is all through there. So that was really cool. But I think most people's favorite is the digital sculpting with Eric, where he sits down and you just fire ideas at him. What do you want to do? What kind of character do you want to make? And he just starts digitally
That's
sculpting and talking to you about the process
yeah. That just
and
blows me away.
well, and that was the big change in the line too, was once he, because the Four Horsemen came up at a time when it was all clay, like it was all,
Mhm.
hand sculpted stuff, like all
Yeah.
those original 1.0 stuff. That's all hand sculpted stuff. Um, I think most of the 2 stuff was too. But now that they can do all this digital sculpting, it just makes it go that much quicker and that much more detailed. And so that was the coolest part to me. I think those two were the coolest. And then, and on top of it, just hanging out with everybody.
Yes.
There's just
I love all of
so
them.
many
They're
people. So,
so damn cool. They're all
um,
super nice people.
and then we got to see some like obviously when we get there on intern, like all of the reveal stuff isn't like that's not just laying out there. But we got to
Yeah.
see them working on the like some of the, because every year they seem to bring a new statue.
Mhm.
Um, and I think they brought two of them last year, to the two cosmic ones. So we got to see them working on those because it was a couple days before the show was gonna. So that was, you don't get to see like sneak peeks of the reveals, which I wouldn't want to see them anyways, because part of the fun is watching it during the actual reveal.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
Because I got there because I've known George at the studio for I don't even know how many years at this point.
I was
Way
laughing
before.
at that picture. Let me let
Yeah,
me let me click on this picture of a young George.
yeah,
Let me
yeah,
see
yeah.
here.
Yeah, it should be closer to the top, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd known George back to the Glios days, and then October Toy Days and stuff like that. Um, and the picture you're about to show was 10
There it is.
years ago at it was actually at a
I love
PowerCon
that.
party. Um, so yeah, so I've been buddies with George for a while. So I showed up a little early for intern, and so I got there like Wednesday night while they were
Mhm.
still cleaning up. And I remember sitting in George's office and I was just looking up because I didn't want to act, because they're still trying to clean up. Because I don't want to see anything. Like I don't want to be
Right.
spoiled. So I literally
Right.
just sat there, while they were, until it was like okay for me to look. Like I just don't want to
Yeah.
see anything.
I'm like
'Cause,
that too. Like if I go to the movies and they're showing like, the new
yeah, I don't want to be
Deadpool,
spoiled.
I will literally I'll my girlfriend's like, "Are you okay? Are you crying?" I'm like, "No, no, I just I don't want to see this, the new James Bond movie. The trailers give me too much. I want to
Yeah,
be totally fresh and amazed and surprised when I see it presented how they want me to see it. I don't want to see, a
no.
Magnus head sitting there. I want it to be on the figure looking good and how they want it to, present to
I
me.
mean, I want the reaction that everybody else gets when they see a
Yeah,
giant bear being carried in at Legion's
yeah,
cons last year. That,
yeah.
why would you want to be spoiled on something like that? Like, I just,
I don't know. And I
but
love that they have that stuff there at the con for people to
mm,
see. I know it's not a perfect, it's not the exact, but that the prototypes are there, or a model or whatever you want to call it, 3D printed, but it's
mhm,
so cool. That's a bonus for Legion's Con, as you see, I took so many pictures of that wave
mhm.
of, and then I think they had um what's the knight with the mustache? I think was it the Necronominus or the All Star Six?
Yeah, it's the Necronominus wave. It's
Um,
Sir, he's the
I
leader of the
forget his
Ether
name.
or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I'm.
I forget
It's
what their
late. My
and their
brain's not
name
working.
their
Yeah,
their names don't matter to me.
but it was just so cool to see the stuff that they're working on. I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking amazing. And this stuff just seems to get better and better over time. Their head sculpts and the articulation and the design. Like you look at the Necronominus, just Necronominus, the head, or look at Alithia, her headpiece. Like, how did you guys sculpt that? Like, how was that? It's insane.
Well, going to intern, you get to see how Eric sculpts that stuff. So it's one of my favorite. It was great. Like, because he gets all excited. He's just in there doing this and doing this, and he's so fast at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could just see how he could probably just look up and it's 4:00 in the morning. He doesn't realize he's been sculpting for 8 hours straight.
I think it's just awesome that he can come up with so much. When I was at IshCon, I told my girlfriend, I'm like, that guy he thinks up all of this shit. Like, this is all from his brain, and the studio makes it happen. Yeah. But it's like that brain right there is the one that's creating this stuff, and it's freaking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting to put all of his dreams into plastic. Like, it's nuts. And like, apparently, like, a lot of the designs were stuff he did when he was younger. Like, a lot of the ideas, obviously been refined. So it's kind of crazy that he's able to do that.
Yeah,
and we benefit from it. So
that's what I was gonna say. We all.
My wallet doesn't, but
right now, my wallet's crying. But
yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time, man. We hit an hour.
Yeah,
and it's a work day tomorrow. I don't know about you.
But gotta get the kid ready for school and then start the work day.
I thank you again for juggling the time. I was trying to get Cornboy locked in.
Yeah, come on. That's why I saw that and I was like, so we're moving ours, right?
I'm like, I'm so sorry, dude. I honestly, I forgot, dude, that I had scheduled, and I was like, oh shit. I'm so sorry, Matt. Like, we're just kind of getting to know each other, and I already like bumped you. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry, man.
That's all
right. Don't take it personal, please.
You gave me a T-shirt. It's okay.
Thank you. A little bribery.
Yeah, it always helps. I love my T-shirts. That is one thing I will say about Legions. I found my whole wardrobe of T-shirts is all
absolutely
Mythic or creator or show now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I love those. I got Wolf King custom shirts. I've got Dave Orkin has some awesome shirts besides my shirt. There's still shirts available, guys. Got different sizes. But yeah, there's some amazing shirts that are being brought out there, and
it's just fun to support everybody. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that this community is all for that. Whether it's the customs, they're like, hey, everyone is positive and supporting, and if I had a question about a custom or something, I feel I could go and ask the community, like, hey, how does that work, or how do I, and you're not getting that snarky figure it out or YouTube it or something. It's like, hey, this is how you do it, and that's a priceless, dude.
Gatekeeping helps nobody. So
right. Exactly.
I wouldn't be painting the way I am right now, and again, I still have a lot of improvement to do. If it wasn't for all the people that were willing to help.
Yeah.
So
and that's huge. That people give you the space to get better and to improve, and not feel self-conscious about what you're doing.
I beat myself up enough, so I appreciate nobody else doing it.
I always say that we're our own worst enemy. Like, our brain is our worst enemy, but gotta just keep staying positive and doing what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
Anyways, thank you so much, man. I hope you come back. It was fun talking to you. We'll have to do it earlier.
3 months before you know it. It'll be 3 months before you know it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I already told you I need a sticker for my skateboard. And hopefully a T-shirt maybe at some point.
Yeah, for sure have stickers and pins at Legions Con, potentially T-shirts.
Sounds good. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You have a good one. Later. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another episode 18. I just wanted to take a minute and say thank you very much to the people that like and subscribe. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And thanks to Matt. Dude, Matt, you rock, dude. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for sharing. You rock, dude.
Remember, friends, to always have fun, be curious, share, and enjoy what this line has to offer. Come for the toys, but stay for the friends. Good night, and thank you very much.
Not only the character, but the shot that he got, with the blaster and stuff like that, like just hanging off there like this. To me, this set the stage for the whole reveal. So yeah, pulling this out right from the beginning.